How does Elon Musk manage to get his SpaceX employees to build rockets so quickly and still have time to post memes on Twitter? Since June 2010, rockets from the Falcon 9 group have launched 114 times, with 112 successful launches. The SpaceX lineup dominates rocket flights because of their innovation and how efficient their rockets are. They're currently the only privately owned company that successfully delivers humans to the International Space Station. SpaceX handles about 2/3 of NASA's launches, including many research payloads with flights as cheap as $62 million. Roughly 2/3 the price of a rocket from United Launch Alliance, a competitor. So with all of these workloads, it begs the question, how does SpaceX manage to build their rockets so fast? Straightforward answer? Through exceptional engineering. Their rockets are all made with innovative technology. And since 2014, hypersonic grid fins made of titanium have been installed on all the SpaceX rockets, contributing to their rockets' smooth landing. Elon Musk says these fins will be manufactured from welded steel on future Starship vehicles. The costs of their materials are relatively cheaper. Musk says carbon fiber costs about $135 per kilogram, which about 35% of it is wasted in the manufacturing process. Thus, Musk has opted for the cost-saving option in stainless steel, which costs about $3 per kilogram. And Elon explains that this is even more beneficial because it allows the company to experiment freely without much fear of losing lots of money compared to using carbon fiber. In his words, he said, "Very easy to work with steel. Oh, and I forgot to mention, SpaceX's high-quality carbon fiber is $135 a kilogram, 35% scrap, so you're starting to approach almost $200 a kilogram. 301 steel is $3 a kilogram." So rather than using computer simulations which aren't always accurate, the company can opt for cheaper materials that will allow them to perform more real-life experiments and collect more accurate data. It's also worth noting that stainless steel is resilient and durable in colder temperatures. In an interview when backing up the stainless steel, he said, "The best design decision on this whole thing is 301 stainless steel because at cryogenic temperatures, 301 stainless has about the same effective strength as an advanced composite or aluminum lithium," Musk said. Unlike most steels, which get brittle at low temperature, 301 stainless gets much stronger. Its strength-to-weight ratio at cryogenic temperatures is equivalent, or even perhaps slightly better than, advanced composites or aluminum lithium, he said. This is not well appreciated because if you just look at the materials manual and say what the strength of stainless steel is, it looks much weaker than it is. If you say what the strength at cryogenic temperature is, much stronger at very low temperature, almost twice as strong. That's when it becomes better than carbon fiber or aluminum lithium. Another way they're able to save time is with their heat shield. The average space rocket has about 21,000 heat shield tiles, which have to be inspected one after the other before they're fit to travel. But SpaceX's rockets don't have to go through the same problems. SpaceX's Starship can survive in extreme situations, so that's not a worry. This in turn gives them more time. Musk also talked about how a transpiration cooling system may be enough for their Starships instead of installing thousands of heat shield towers. It's a system whereby the ship would have 2 exterior stainless steel layers, and cooling liquids or water would flow through the sandwich layers. They're also developing technology to control the altitude of rockets. This will help the landing of the rockets easily. Plus, they're reusable and efficient economically. And this gets us closer to another answer, reusability. This helps them save costs and build rockets faster. Because their goal is to land and access space daily like airplanes, this is the more sensible approach for them. Musk said, "If one can figure out how to effectively reuse rockets just like airplanes, the cost of access to space will be reduced by as much as a factor of 100. A fully reusable vehicle has never been done before. That really is the fundamental breakthrough needed to revolutionize access to space." Also, their ability to source funds is credited for how they can build rockets quickly. For one, SpaceX is headed by the man who sits at either the second or top position in the world's richest man ranking. He's gained so much confidence from investors thanks to his many successes. Recently, SpaceX raised $850 million with a valuation of $74 billion. So, raising money is not an issue for the space travel company. Their construction process is the next thing on the list. Many companies have dedicated machinery that helps to do the bulk of the production work. This gives engineers double work, in which they no longer have to only maintain the rocket. They also have to maintain the machine that makes the rocket as well. Even the companies would have to pay double for funding the machine and funding the rocket. SpaceX's Starship is different. In their case, they don't use fancy machines that help to build parts. Their production process is as basic as men hand-welding the pieces together. SpaceX's components consist of stainless steel, flaps, and nose cones. Construction happens rather openly, so there's no machine doing the bulk of the work. Eyebrows have been raised concerning these construction processes' safety because their durability details are not precise. Still, Elon Musk and his factory in Boca Chica focus on efficiency and cutting down construction time. According to Space News, in an interview with Elon Musk, he said, "We're making good progress. The thing that we're making progress on with Starship is the production system," he said, referring to the growing campus at Boca Chica. "A year ago, there was almost nothing there, and now we've got quite a lot of production capability." Next is iteration. Because they're focused on speed, they're different from other companies, airline companies for example, who test after each process. And they fix any issues after they've tested everything individually. This usually takes years before an actual aircraft is ready to sell. But SpaceX's rockets are different. They usually don't expect to get their spacecraft to be perfect at the first trial. Their iterative process is more of learning and improving on the go. They release a working but yet imperfect version of the product. And they release more frequently so they can spot errors and make improvements faster. This same iterative process has contributed to the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy developments. SpaceX engineer David Geiger spoke about this iteration process and said, "We weren't just going to sit there and analyze something for years and years and years and years to the nth degree. SpaceX was built on test, 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 test. We test as we fly." But Elon Musk has spoken about how this process won't be sustainable in the long term. Because once people start using their rockets to travel to Mars more frequently, it'll be too risky to use this strategy. After all, you wouldn't want to be on a trip to Mars one day and have the parts of the rockets you're on fall out, would you? So, while they're still in this process, they aim to take full advantage of it. Another factor that contributes to SpaceX building rockets so quickly is Elon Musk's lifespan. In 2016, when Musk announced that humans could build a sustainable colony on Mars, he believed that this would be possible in the 2060s. He also said that in the next decade, his company would shuttle humans to and from Mars. In September 2018, he tweeted that a base on Mars could probably be built by 2028. Then, in March 2019, he tweeted again that it's possible to make a self-sustaining city on Mars by 2050 if we start in 5 years and take 10 orbital synchronizations. Elon Musk turns 50 in June, and he's not getting any younger. And because of how unpredictable life can be, he's doing all he can to speed up the process before he runs out of time. In an interview when talking about the topic, he said, "The thing that concerns me most right now is that unless we improve our rate of innovation dramatically, then there's no chance of a base on the moon or a city on Mars," Musk said. "This is my biggest concern." At SpaceX, he's famous for his deadlines and pushing his staff to get things done faster. The president at SpaceX, Gwynne Shotwell, in an interview with CNBC in May 2018 said, "There's no question that Elon is very aggressive on his timelines, but frankly, that drives us to do things better and faster." One other catalyst that keeps pushing SpaceX is the emerging competition. Although it may not currently seem like SpaceX has any competition, you can't just write off Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin so quickly. Bezos plans to step down as CEO of the biggest e-commerce company to focus on running his space travel company. So SpaceX could have a worthy opponent. To conclude, there are many reasons why SpaceX can build rockets so quickly, but on top of them is their efficiency in terms of picking and using materials, and of course, how they aim to learn on the go. Can anyone dominate NASA? The same NASA that put the first American in space? The same NASA that made every kid want to be an astronaut so they can go to the moon? NASA, or the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, has been around since October 1st, 1958. And since then, they've been highly revolutionary, with their cutting-edge aeronautics research that brought about new knowledge on how we see airplanes. NASA has also completed our solar system's reconnaissance, with an intense investigation of all the planets. Using orbital spacecraft like the Hubble Space Telescope, NASA has also dramatically changed our understanding of the universe around us as well as our own planet. NASA's early work on launch vehicles, communication satellites, and weather satellites has fundamentally changed daily life and created whole new industries. As a catalyst for international cooperation, NASA has also changed how and why humanity conducts space exploration. Now, NASA is preparing to take humankind farther than ever before. It helps foster a robust commercial space economy near Earth and pioneers further human and robotic exploration exploration as we venture into deep space. They've taken heavy strides in space travel and were even the ones who brought about rocket reusability. But today, Elon Musk's SpaceX is dominating NASA in the space race with all of these. The question in all of this is why? What's SpaceX doing that makes them more dominant than the space travel pioneers in the US? Could it be due to the endless memes Elon Musk is fond of sharing on Twitter? It might be, but let's get into more detail. Although they have different focuses, they both have traveling to space as a common theme. NASA's goal is to expand humanity's knowledge and to promote the discovery of space, while SpaceX aims to take humans to and from space. NASA is government-owned and is majorly funded with taxpayers' money, unlike Elon Musk's privately owned SpaceX, primarily financed by investors, which is a good thing, but we'll get into more detail on that later. For NASA, being government-owned is a significant limitation because the president and members of Congress have the most control, which may be costly. How? Their leaders won't have the best knowledge of the business. Plus, they'd likely favor programs that will best serve their interest because of all the politics involved, like getting re-elected. And this will make innovation slow compared to a private organization like SpaceX. For NASA's future, they plan to go back to the moon in 2024, further explore aeronautics technology, the solar system, and human spaceflight. In comparison, SpaceX's primary goal is to make humanity multi-planetary. As Elon Musk famously put it, you want to wake up in the morning and think the future is going to be great. And that's what being a spacefaring civilization is all about. It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past. And I can't think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars. If that isn't inspirational, what is? It's settled that both of these companies are in the space race, but for reasons that'll soon be known, we'll be seeing how SpaceX is actually knocking NASA off the top spot. In terms of innovation, NASA has been lagging in recent decades, contracting projects to private companies like Blue Origin, Rocket Labs, and SpaceX. The first thing to look at is how expensive NASA's projects are compared to SpaceX. NASA promised cheaper space flights with their space shuttle, but like many promises that governments make, it didn't pull through. In fact, it cost them $209 billion, which was about $1.6 billion per launch, and they could only launch about 134 space shuttle flights. This is where the cost difference is pretty apparent. SpaceX's Crew Dragon costs $209 million per launch. At that rate, NASA could have launched 1,000 Crew Dragons. NASA's space shuttle program lacked a clearly defined purpose, and with America already having sent people to the moon, the excitement started to reduce heavily. So because of these high costs, NASA had to stop the space shuttle program. As a company, SpaceX is famous for minimizing costs without compromising safety. They aim to eventually push down the pre-launch cost of their new rocket Starship to as low as $2 million. During a conversation with Lieutenant General John Thompson, commander of the Space and Missile Systems Center, Musk said, "If you consider operational costs, maybe it'll be like $2 million out of SpaceX's pocket each time. This is much less than even a tiny rocket, so it's something that needs to be made. It's common knowledge that you'll find if you focus on one thing, unlike NASA, whose focus is on different things." Another factor in NASA's high cost is that they decided to move on to developing the Space Launch System. For this, they estimated that a single launch of the Space Launch System would cost about $2 billion. And this doesn't even include the company's development cost. Crazy, right? Many people blame NASA for trying to handle many things at the same time. They built a new space shuttle from scratch instead of improving their Apollo design and saving precious dollars there. They also packed in tons of technology into the space shuttle, which cost them heavily in terms of development, maintenance, and repair. Elon Musk, in a bid to throw a jab at his government-owned competitors' high costs, said, "Most government space organizations have spent decades focusing on just performance as opposed to reducing cost. And as government funding of space organizations has been on a downward trend, this has become more of a concern." NASA's aging workforce is another reason why SpaceX is dominating them. Studies have shown that about 56% of NASA's workforce is 50 years old and over, increasing about 7 percentage points over the past 5 years, while the median age of SpaceX's 6,000 employees is 31. NASA isn't the most attractive place for younger people, since there are other exciting and more innovative options like SpaceX and Blue Origin. In America, when you ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, a common answer used to be working for NASA, but not anymore. Now, everyone wants to work alongside the likes of Elon Musk. SpaceX also has one up on NASA when it comes to the devotion their employees have to help the company move forward. They're run like a startup. in that SpaceX's working hours range from about 60 to 80 hours weekly, and sometimes, during critical recoveries and launches, work extends to the 100-hour weekly mark. Most of it happens voluntarily because the employees see Elon Musk's vision for SpaceX and want to be a part of making it manifest. And unlike SpaceX, NASA employees stick closely to the 40 hours a week schedule because that's what's expected of any government employee. There's no push to work overtime. This dedication to work has positive effects for SpaceX on productivity when compared to their counterparts NASA. SpaceX tends to save money because it can have fewer employees do more work. A former employee of SpaceX some time ago wrote on Quora about what it's like working for them. He said, "SpaceX just hires self-driven people who are extremely passionate about the mission. Long hours are just usually what it takes to get the job done, especially if you're working with limited resources." He joked about how they randomly run into celebrities at the factory. "We'd frequently see celebrities getting tours. For example, I saw Jennifer Aniston having lunch with Elon at the table across from me, ran into Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the bathroom, and had other people like Will Smith and Morgan Freeman come through the factory while I was working," he said. "The more often you'd be at the office, the more likely you'd be around when someone cool was visiting. I frequently did work 12-plus-hour days and pulled many all-nighters at the office. But again, this wasn't because I was forced to, but because I loved my work and saw the value I was bringing to the team." Of course, another factor we can't ignore in this toe-to-toe in the space race is competition. Everyone in business will agree that competition is necessary to keep you breaking boundaries. And because the privately owned SpaceX has competition like Blue Origin and Rocket Labs, it pushes them to keep innovating. Plus, without having yearly funding coming to them like it is with NASA, they have to keep their operation fresh. They have to fight to win contracts as well as keeping investors satisfied. SpaceX is a new age company with lots of innovation and promise. Unlike the somewhat archaic NASA, SpaceX will obviously dominate them in the space race because they have what it takes in terms of vision, competition, innovation, and, well, Elon Musk. Ever since we took to the skies in the early 20th century, human beings have always been fascinated by air travel. Today, we could go a step further and say we're blown away by the rapid, innovative changes that this industry has made in the last few years. This venture into a field formerly closed out to the public has been spearheaded by financial magnates, the likes of Virgin Group founder Richard Branson, Amazon's founder and CEO Jeff Bezos, and Tesla's ever-popular CEO Elon Musk. It's safe to say that out of all of his peers, your friendly neighborhood billionaire Elon Musk has made the most waves in this area. Elon believes that SpaceX can be a serious competitor in the airline industry. And if you're familiar with their exploits in the space travel field, you probably believe him. The airline industry has had its fair share of setbacks, especially over the last few decades. A slow but steady decline in standards, dated technology infrastructure, and ever-changing fuel prices are just some of the many issues that have been plaguing the vast majority of commercial airlines. And talking about problems, you can't fail to mention the tedious layovers that passengers have to go through before arriving at their intended destinations. All things considered, air travel has been and is still absolutely essential to the global economy, and as of now has no viable alternative. That didn't stop the larger-than-life genius Elon Musk from doing what he always does to existing systems, taking steps to innovate and improve them. The concept of SpaceX rivaling major airline companies is not a startling one at all. The space exploration company was started in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of making human beings a multi-planetary species. At the time, the idea was almost laughable, but now, everyone is waiting to witness our species' historic venture into the Red Planet, courtesy of SpaceX and Elon. If you think about it subjectively, taking into account all of the existing and ongoing developments SpaceX has made on its Mars project, the idea of a futuristic airliner by the same company doesn't sound far-fetched at all. As we've come to expect, every new revolutionary idea by the polymath that is Elon Musk has been awe-inspiring, outlandish, and in some cases, outright outrageous. That said, their plan is to build a supersonic aircraft that's capable of transporting travelers from one city to another at a maximum speed of 27,000 kilometers an hour or 17,000 miles per hour. Wow. Just wow. Picture this. A flight from New York to Shanghai on SpaceX's proposed aircraft will take a mere 39 minutes, a fraction of the current non-stop flight time of 15 hours on most commercial planes. London to Dubai would take just 29 minutes, and Toronto to Los Angeles would take an astonishing 24 minutes. Here's the big one. Traveling from any one point on the globe to another will take less than 1 hour. 1 hour. The only thing I can say to that, ladies and gentlemen, is welcome to the future, where your intercontinental voyage will take just as much time or even be shorter than your daily commute to work. At first, this seemed like a niche service that would only be available to the elites in society. But in a recent Instagram post, Elon Musk stated that ticket prices would be about the same as full-fare economy seats in a conventional aircraft. And that's when all the big airlines started to pay attention. Needless to say, there are a whole lot of moving parts that go towards starting and maintaining an operation of this magnitude, let alone a regular airline. First and foremost, you have to consider the financial aspect of the project. Any successful business operation has to be profitable, and everybody involved in the airline industry knows that it's much easier said than done. The average airline collects a staggering 83% of its total revenue from the 47% of passengers sat in its fewer higher-priced seats, as opposed to the 17% gathered from the majority of passengers in economy class. This is mostly seen in long-haul transatlantic flights, where most airlines make their profit exclusively from business, premium, and first-class tickets, with the economy seats serving the sole purpose of filling up the plane by offering a more pocket-friendly ticket price to the average consumer. Many airlines report financial difficulties and setbacks with alarming frequency, so we are all keen to see the steps that Elon Musk and SpaceX will take to weather this seemingly unavoidable storm. The proposed commute will have passengers board a high-speed yacht and be dropped off at an onshore barge, where they'll proceed to onboard the spacecraft, aptly named the BFR by Elon Musk. The rocket will then take off, exit the Earth's upper atmosphere, and travel to its intended destination at supersonic speed. An ingenious bit of innovation went into the creation of the rockets, with a reusable first-stage booster that detaches and returns to Earth, leaving the second-stage booster and the rest of the craft to land at the destination. Passengers will literally be traveling in space for a few minutes before they re-enter the Earth and arrive at their various destinations. The whole plan sounds comprehensive enough, and at the same time bold and innovative. But it's no cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination. The logistics and technicalities of this project are colossal hurdles in their own right. The first and probably the most prolific challenge that Elon and his team will have to face is the perfection of their supersonic retropulsion system that is required to land the BFR vertically. They've taken some big steps and spent even bigger bucks on developing this system. SpaceX's Falcon boosters have successfully landed 74 times out of 85 attempts. Even more impressive is the fact that 25 of these boosters have flown on multiple occasions, with one of them having gone on a record 8 missions. If that doesn't speak to all the work they've been putting into these boosters, I don't know what does. The landings have been made both on offshore barges and on land. Another massive challenge that arises along the same vein is the challenge of landing the rocket in densely populated metropolitan areas. Cities with coastlines will be easier to take off from and land in, but landlocked global hubs such as Paris, London, and Chicago will admittedly need quite a bit of work and planning if they're to realize this dream. Fixing this issue might seem as simple as building the launch site outside the city, but you have to consider the distance to the city hub. If the site is too far from the city, the average business traveler will tend to shun the whole trip altogether. Failing to make a profit is also a very realistic challenge that Elon will have to brave. We all know that Elon Musk is by no means a super capitalist, the likes of fellow billionaires and financial wizards like Warren Buffett and Jeff Bezos. Elon amassed his fortune directly from his creations and innovations, which he then proceeded to either seek funding for, sell, or license thereafter. It's safe to say that Elon is playing the long game here. He intends to elevate the human race to a multi-planetary species, whatever it may cost him, his company, and their investors. Elon Musk knows what he's doing. Instantaneous global travel and settling on Mars is a hell of a way to start your personal space campaign if you ask me. Obviously, not from experience. Again, all this space talk must have most accountants sweating bullets. But let's not forget that Elon has deeper pockets than most, with most being the entire world. The man is never out of his depth, even when he's blasting multiple rockets into space. So if SpaceX aren't crying over their own monetary losses, I don't see why we should. If SpaceX successfully launches the BFR and subsequently makes good on their objective of supersonic transcontinental travel, the airline industry is pretty much done. If they were to adapt to Elon's model and embrace hypersonic rocket travel as well, then they may have a chance to survive in the cutthroat future. The vehicle industry giants were hesitant to jump into the EV field right until Tesla became a household name and electric cars were embraced worldwide. Today, every single vehicle manufacturing company has an EV model, with the promise of a fully electric future that we first heard from Elon over a decade ago. Basically, if Elon Musk is successful, we could be looking at a pivoting moment in technology. Every airline is going to go above and beyond to imitate SpaceX's business model to a T in order to stay relevant. Boasting an average long-haul flight home of 30 minutes, Elon's new transportation system will save passengers at least 5 hours. This is at the very least 6 times faster than the fastest passenger plane you can board right now. The fact is that when Elon inevitably jumps into the airline industry, he'll hold clear advantages in the ticket pricing and travel time departments. Assuming all the safety requirements are met, the BFR will effortlessly draw out all the business travelers from the staggeringly expensive premium airline seats to the new, significantly faster and equally priced alternative. Funnily enough, smaller regional airlines seem to be a lot safer than their legacy counterparts from impending doom in the form of Elon and SpaceX. Bigger, more traditional airlines make the bulk of their revenue from exorbitant intercontinental ticket prices for the premium and business classes, a clientele base that they could lose entirely to SpaceX's project. The smaller regional airlines will retain their business since it's a lot harder for SpaceX to build and operate that many launch sites in close proximity. Elon Musk and SpaceX are going full steam ahead, and there seems to be little standing in their way. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think the airline companies can still salvage their industry? Will this lead to new technologies and business models? Is Elon Musk punching above his weight? Is there anybody above his weight? Until next time, see you in the future.